It's for Much Music. It's for the new music show here. It's the youth channel. It's the equivalent of Canada's MTV, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
With journalism, which is how we like to treat it. MTV with a few questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice.
Where's it wrong?
Sweet.
MTV with questions.
With
in
questions,
fact.
yes.
Okay.
That's
I
how
didn't
we're
say
going.
that.
It won't make the edit. Refocused. Last few albums. Did you sit down and talk to yourself and just refocus what you were doing?
I really go in from project to project, and I don't often take stock. I think that helps me make ghastly mistakes, which is really quite good. I think if you don't make mistakes, you never really reach to the really high points and really good points. I think the reason that occasionally I come up with something that's really quite good is because I allow myself to make an absolute fool of myself, enough to come across good things in doing that.
And you exist in a genre and in an industry where people expect things of you that they wouldn't even expect from their closest friends, which is you're not allowed to have a valley or even a plateau. You have to peak always.
Well, also, I think people are okay about me making mistakes. Which is even better, because now I've got a tried and true method of working. People, and when I say people, I actually mean my core group of audience, you know, who are really very loyal. I mean, I've consistently sold the same amount of albums for decades now. Mm-hmm. It's like they've really been there for me. And I can hear them going, oh, when's he going to get over this period and move into... but it's okay, but they'll wait for me to kind of figure out what it is I'm doing.
Well, when someone says, oh, it's Bowie.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
Which can be an incredible freedom thing, but quite a crutch if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I know. So I don't feel the pressure too much. All I do feel, the only pressure I feel on is to do the best that I possibly can at any given time, which I think I hold that as a premise for every artist anyway. I think they should always do the very best of what they can do at that given time, and it's not always the case. One can be tempted to glide along, you know, which is not a good thing.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I think...
The yielding to the temptation.
Yeah, I do. I mean, you know, I had a very bad 80s. Actually, I think everybody had a very bad 80s, didn't they? I particularly did. Specifically from around 84 through till late 88. Those 4 years, in fact. Which is, actually, looking back on my career, I was pretty lucky. I mean, that wasn't so bad. I know artists that have been through much rougher periods, or keep coming back to rough periods. But for me, that was just awful. It was just the worst. And I lost all confidence in what I was doing, and I hated what I was doing, actually. Quite quietly to myself. I didn't tell anybody else around me that I didn't think I was doing very good work, specifically because it was selling really well, which is really embarrassing, you know, when the best things that would have been like these, you know, albums that you don't really think much of, are incredibly big sellers, and it's like, oh, Christ.
Is that why you decided to do a tour to put those songs to bed?
Well, it was all cumulative, yes. I mean, you know, a lot of things happened. I found my exit from all that mainstream stuff through Tin Machine. I mean, that was my holy grail at the time. It was, this is the truth. This will help take me back to what it was I liked about music in the first place. And indeed it did. However inelegant it looked from the outside, it actually worked for me as a vehicle for getting back to my own personal standards of writing and producing and all that. So I think it was one of the better things that I did. And to follow through from that, I've actually liked an awful lot of what I've done in the 90s. I'm really proud of that work. I think there's some very good work in the 90s. It's a lot of it is really quite interesting. It's conceived well, and I think it gave a lot of people a lot of amusement. It's good stuff to look back on, and I find that I must like it because I keep going back to it to draw songs from it to put on the shows. So I know I like it. I know I like it because I'm not drawing much from the 84, 88 period. You know, but I have got Hello Space Boy and I'm Afraid of Americans and the odd thing, you know, that comes up from that period in the 90s.
Did you see the out when you were in that period? Did you see I can get through this?
No, not really. I mean, right in the well, towards the end, yeah, 88, it started to come together. Meeting the guitar player, Reese Gabrels, really sort of changed everything around in that way. But in the middle of it, no. I mean, I seriously thought about painting and taking up that again, you know, which is the other thing I was doing when I was a kid, painting and sculpting. And I thought, well, you know, I could always be a visual artist then and go back to the plastic arts. And try that or something maybe, but I can't seriously think that I actually really thought that. But I think superficially I thought that. I really do.
But that helps make you what you are. I mean, fear is a big part of this
Oh,
record,
absolutely.
but it's a big part of a lot of stuff you've done.
You know, fear is so important. The trouble with the Western ethic is that we're encouraged to negate every kind of disappointment in our lives. We're told that fear and pain and all those things are things that we can overcome or avoid, or kind of, you know, if we're in touch with this kind of spiritual life, we won't ever have those things in our lives. And of course, I think they're terribly important. I think the pain and the disappointments and all that are so much a foundation of making us stronger as people, that I think we have to embrace them as much as we embrace happiness or the need for happiness and all that. So maybe I do dwell on those aspects of life quite a lot in my albums. They are darker, they are kind of so. I'm not really that kind of guy at all, though. I'm not Trent. You know, I'm not that serious. I'm not that dark all the time. I'm actually quite a buoyant personality. But I think left to my own devices, that 2 a.m. moment in the early morning, all these questions and all that questioning comes into play.
You should never be alone with yourself that much.
It's kind of like that, yeah. My mind's a bad neighborhood.
Tom Waits popped into this interview.
All that stuff kind of gets like that.
So because you can be buoyant and happy throughout your day,
Yeah.
you can go deeper to the stuff that comes out on this.
I do tend to, yeah. When I'm writing, it's a different part of me that I kind of reach into, you know. And a lot of it is inevitably about the construction of our lives and why we create values and what is morality and are all these just kind of, are they self-structures that we create to give ourselves a reason for living? I mean, is the reality that there is no morality? I mean, which is kind of scary, because that means there's no reason for life, in which case, why do we bother? And, oh, no, I hate that. Oh, I don't want to go there. You know, but you keep confronting that all the time. I do, anyway.
You ever feel alone?
Yeah. We all feel very alone, don't we? Often. Too often. That's why we make such a thing of trying to be with people and become social animals. It's very scary to know that those last moments will be absolutely alone.
The other side of the coin is whatever questions you had about what happened will be answered shortly.
That's right, so why bother posing them now? I mean, if, you know, maybe I should be a Zen Buddhist and then I can get rid of all that.
Too much attention to detail.
It is, isn't it? It's very hard work having no mind.
Your fans generally pleased with the period you're in now?
I get the impression they're really quite chuffed, yeah. I think they like what I'm doing.
It's a balance between elegance, it's a balance between what you've done in your career, with, you know, being able to play with Busta Rhymes and have it work.
Yeah, he's a hell of a guy. Has
he taught you anything about this industry?
Well, that you can skive off gigs every now and again, yeah.
It's a different relationship.
He's a really cracking guy. I like him a lot. He's got a great sense of humour. And he's very hearty. He's kind of huge and huggy, and I like him a lot. He's a great guy. I like all the people on this tour. They're really nice people.
It's been able to make a festival audience in North America see things that they would see in the north of England. that never happened in America before. Not like
That's
that.
very true. It is very true. I mean, we do have the equivalent of this kind of festival all the time in Europe. I've been playing festivals actually with my band. Every summer I have tried, up until my baby was born, I was doing festivals every year, you know. And we used to adore them. I mean, we love them. Because the range and the diversity of artists, you can get everything from a cartoonist to Prodigy to myself to all on the same bill. It doesn't ostensibly make sense. But it's because of that diversity, it kind of gels with the audience, and the audience realise their own potential for having an open-mindedness that maybe they didn't even know they had before. And they're taking all these things in. And this works, it does work in the same way. I can see even on my own message boards on my fan site, how encouraged they are by saying, I never thought I was going to like Ash or that, you know, or Buster. What do I know about Buster? And I really enjoyed him. He was so energetic and blah blah blah. And they're liking new kinds of music, you know. So it's nothing but healthy. It's really good.
Every guitar chord's been played, so you can't really
kind of
do something different with the guitar.
Oh God, you're going postmodernist, aren't you?
You can, but there's a way to do it now. There's a way to
all originality is over. It'll never happen again.
Yeah.
Nothing new will ever be done again.
Stroke of luck, maybe.
Oh, stroke of luck.
But what you might be able to do is extend.
No such thing as luck.
No, happy coincidence.
Yeah.
What you can do, you can be groundbreaking by introducing people to other people.
And I personally have loved doing that. When I was a kid, I was always prided myself on being the kid on the block that knew everything about new artists first. And I was so, you know, I heard a friend of mine came back from America and brought me back. He'd met up with Andy Warhol in New York, and he brought me back a vinyl disc. He said, yeah, Warhol gave me, I said, this band's rubbish. He said, but you like weird stuff, you know. And he gave it to me. It was the Velvet Underground first album. And it hadn't been released in America. And within a week, I was doing Waiting for the Man with my band before the Velvet Underground album was even out.
That was your song.
I mean, that's been fast. Is that cool or what? So, and I loved doing things like that. I loved introducing new people to, you know, my friends and all that, because I didn't have an audience then. So it was just friends. And so, oh, this great new band, Velvet Underground or whatever. Yeah, it's cool to do that. It's nice. I don't know why it's nice, but it is.
Because you can be friendly and challenging at the same time.
Is that what it is, or is it
so.
Just kind of arrogance?
You know what?
Kind of
we rationalize in North America. That's what it is. It's friendly and it's
elitist.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
It's okay.
But that's music. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Trying to explain something that is just usually a passion chord. do you get to challenge your audience and they get to go with you along on the whole trip, and sometimes it works, like you said, sometimes it doesn't work. When it works, have you got your Maslow's self-actualization on that stage at that moment?
When it does work, I think, funnily enough, the one thing it does do is set me up for wanting to change again. When things work, I kind of want to leave them alone, because it's like point proved. It's like, if I do this and this, and I create this situation, and then it's accepted, then I find, well, okay, that's been validated. Now I can move on. So that's why probably I tend to grasshopper about, because I don't often stay with something which seems to have been successful. And I don't understand if it's just perverse of me, or if it really is an unrelenting need to do something else. I suppose it must be a mixture of the two.
To be validated.
Yeah, but I don't need to be continually validated, you know what I mean? I'm not hungry to be told, you know, oh, that's... So I much prefer to get on with things.
Do you want to be the underdog?
No, I don't think so. Although I think it's a far more romantic place to be.
Yeah.
It really is, isn't it? Then on top of it all. I don't really want to be on top of it all.
It'd be so boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're really not allowed to make mistakes.
What does New York mean to you? Because it's not just a town.
Because of that blessed documentary on New York, I keep thinking of it as a once mountainous terrain that was flattened and then gridded. And a very clever series of canals which enabled the rest of the Americas to be opened up fully to exploitation. That's what I think. That's my image of New York. That's from watching too many documentaries. Okay, well, I think it's probably, in one way, the worst place to live because it's so unrelenting. The energy level is beyond belief. And I think you probably feel at the end of the day that you're not really actually getting any kind of relaxation there at all. You can't switch off. On the other hand, I adore that. I'm addicted to that. I like the feeling that all around me life is going on fully and at 100 miles an hour as it hits the ground. The bit that I'm in is not quite maybe as high energy as that because it's more kind of downtown, you know. Mm-hmm. So you get coupled with that layer of energy, you have this kind of veneer of community on top of that. So there's a kind of a friendly feeling down there as well.
And it just came out of such an incredible sadness.
Yeah, it sure did.
Is there an upside there now? Do you see this now?
It'll grow again. I mean, I was in a little Italian restaurant the day before yesterday, actually, when we were back in New York. And it was sad that he was saying that they were thinking of selling up because they never got their customers back, you know. And that's just a tiny indication of some of the tragedy of life around there, especially in Chinatown, unfortunately, where business has really taken a hard knocking, and I think a lot of people are hurting badly. And it's not really all coming back as fast as they thought it was. And of course the interesting thing is that there's much talk of building another huge complex where the old towers were. But none of the businesses want to buy back into it again, so they all moved over to New Jersey and whatever, you know, and so, hey, hold on, we're really quite happy over here in New Jersey. I don't think we want to move back again, so...
It's the Sopranos. They were the great tourist attraction for Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to ask you about this industry. The record labels have been completely unable to keep up. Things changed so quickly. It rained in the desert. No one had umbrellas.
That's right.
And
that's funny.
Do you think they can? There's no file sharing. Kids have outsmarted them again.
They have, yeah. I guess hopefully they will do continually. Well, you know, I know so little about the record industry. All I know is that I see it really huffing and puffing.
But you know a lot about the internet and how kids get
I know a bit about
there.
the internet, and I think the internet will win through. That's unstoppable. It does provide the wave of distribution for the future. I mean, you know, long live broadband. I've caught your cough. I presume that when broadband really takes, when it has roots throughout the West, it is virtually over for a lot of industries, not just the record industry. I think the film industry is going to suffer terribly when you can really and easily download movies. Mm-hmm. It's going to, all our ideas of conveyance are going to change considerably when that happens.
The crack in North America, you needed radio for the longest time, and radio has been in the hands of these, you know, 52-year-old white guys who were from an era that didn't, before radio.
And also, of course, monopolies. You can't rule out the fact that over 1,000 stations are owned by one conglomerate. You know, I mean, this is like...
And the promoter.
Yeah, it's you know, it's very hard to work out how you provide an individual... The mom and pop station, I think, actually doing quite well again, because they find they can change their formats easily. Mm-hmm. There are very, very few stations now where the manager of the station, the guy that picks the records to be played on the radio, goes with a gut feeling anymore. Yeah. That's over. Nearly every record that gets played on radio is decided upon by focus groups.
And a 4-second call out.
Where they phone listeners and ask them if they know or can recognize 10 seconds of this song. And if they can, then that thing goes into the playlist. And if they can't, it doesn't go into the playlist. It's the most absurd McDonald'sization of the Americas.
So Ziggy's been in people's consciousness for 30 years, and your future career relies on somebody in Omaha and what they think of 5 seconds of slow burn.
Yeah,
it's gotta suck for you, man.
I know. Well, you know, for many years I've existed on word of mouth. I mean, I'm finding that works for me very well because of the nature of my particular fan base. It's they're kind of weird internet-y people anyway, and so it has worked for me, and I don't have a problem with it. I mean, Heathen has done so incredibly well throughout the world, and in England, where I've had no radio play whatsoever, it's been put into what's called the Mercury nominations, which is kind of a, I don't know how to describe it. I suppose it's supposed to be the best of what's new each year. It's kind of a Grammys, but not really like Grammys. It's not as mainstream as that.
It's for important music.
Yeah, I suppose that's what it is. And I was absolutely flabbergasted that with absolutely no play whatsoever, this thing has kind of, you know, been recognised as being a reasonable piece of work, which proved to me yet again that things like the internet work very well for me, and that you can sort of, you can get your stuff out there and have it known, you know. Of course, it's challenging in this country because you don't really have an outlet to get anything played on. So you have to hope that one person will tell the next person, you know, it really that album's worth listening to. What else do, you know?
I'll wrap on this question then. So that's been recognized. You're happy, things are going well, which means it's time to kill this puppy and do something else.
It does sound a bit like that, doesn't it? Yeah, interpretive dance, I thought might be.
Don't, man.
That might be my next phase.
That's a perfect end. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Not at all.